So this is a very, very simple, extremely quick fix so that you can add some yards to your game. Right, so I put a video on a couple of days ago, maybe a week or so ago, and I got a comment on there where someone's asked me, can I clarify a point that I made within that video? Right, so the comment came from Ben Johnson. I do not understand the width of stance part. Can you explain that a little better for me, please? Thanks. Absolutely no problem. Love it when I get comments like that because it gives me an opportunity to come back to you guys and then make sure that you reaffirm what I'm saying and make sure that you get a better understanding of what we're talking about. So the point regarding width of stance is extremely important in the golf swing. Okay, so relative to the club that you're using, your stance will change. We know that, and it can also change as to the direction, as to whether you're standing open to the ball or ever so slightly close to the ball. But we're not here to do that today. We're here to talk about width of stance. Right, so I've got 3 golf clubs. So I've got my 52-degree wedge, a 7-iron and a driver. And the width of stance is going to be relative to the club that you're using, okay? So with the shorter clubs, and this is going to be a progressive thing, so depending on the club, depends on the width of stance, okay? But use these 3, so you've got one at the lower end of the bag, one in the middle, one at the top with the driver, to really emphasise the point. Now what I like to see with people doing is, with a shorter club, so if we go sort of wedges, that the outside of your feet is going to be relative or level to the outside of your shoulders, and that's the guide. So if I held these 2 clubs up, drop them down, that's going to be there. Reason for that is that you're not trying to shift your weight through as much through the swing to generate power, and it's going to help you to hit down on the ball. As the clubs get longer, your stance will get wider. So if we go to 7-iron, I'm going to move your feet out a little bit more, and then with your 7-iron, the middle of your feet is going to be level with the outside of your shoulders, so there. So you can see I've got a little bit wider, sort of middle of where my toes are is roughly level with the outside of my shoulders. And then, you know, as you fill in the gaps there, so I've got a 52-degree wedge, go wedge 9, 8, is going to get a little bit wider. And then when I get into my driver, width of stance, ball position is going to change. The width of stance, and this is probably where most people get it wrong, and the reason that they get it wrong is because you're just being lazy as you address the ball. So what I'm going to see from a coaching point of view, people coming up with their driver, standing more or less like they would do with their 7-iron, feet getting about that wide apart, so that, you know, roughly outside your feet, middle of your toes level with the outside of your shoulders. Now you're not going to see an elite level player doing that. They're going to get much wider. You want to get wider like that, so that the inside of your feet is level with the outside of your shoulders. So it's much, much wider than the 7-iron. And again, you're going to progressively get to that point as you go 6, 5, 4 hybrids, fairway woods, that your stance is going to get wider, and then your driver's going to be the maximum sort of width. The reason for this is that that's going to reduce the downward angle of attack. It's going to help you to shallow the club out, and it's going to make you a much flatter, or preferably hitting up on the ball, so positive angle of attack. That's going to significantly increase your driver distances. If you stand narrow with your driver and try and make a swing, the tendency is going to be that you're going to move laterally within your swing. That's going to cause you problems and inconsistency and make you hit it shorter. I'll show you. So set up with your driver, and this is a slightly narrow stance. So this is what I'm going to see people doing when I'm coaching them. Yeah, so too narrow. The feeling as I swing is that there's going to be a little bit of lateral movement, and then the club's going to deliver on a steeper angle of attack as it comes into the ball. Right, so the downside of the steeper angle attack is like there, that you miss the middle of the club face, get it going out of the toe a little bit, and then you lose distance. Now I haven't hit that offline, it's relatively straight, but you can see it just hasn't flighted and it hasn't gone anywhere. Now we go for the wider stance, so I'm looking for the outside of my feet to be level, the inside of my feet to be level with the outside of my shoulders. So I'm much, much wider here. Now as I swing, the advantage of doing this is that as you swing, your mass is going to move more, okay? So I'll explain that. So if my centre of gravity is there, and as I backswing there, and I shift that all the way into my right hand side, and then that, as I swing down and through, that mass is going to move a long way through to get to the ball. And that, the more that you can move your mass, the further that you're going to hit the ball. So here, so the wider stance. So you can see there, wider stance, added speed to my swing, gave me relatively similar launch angle or spin rates, that doesn't really matter, but it's added speed to my swing and it's allowed me to hit the ball further and gain distance. That's quite a significant jump in terms of distance between the two. The next step is one that Tiger Woods would do. So Tiger stated in his book that when he wants to hit the ball further, he drops his stance by another 2 inches to what is normal. So if he's standing there where his inside of his feet are level with his outside of his shoulder, if he really wants to bomb one, he drops his right foot, increases the width of the stance. That's really going to get the mass moving through a lot more. And he feels that that's going to give him the ability to stand there again and hit it even further still. And that's definitely something that you can try and play around with. But the width of stance is extremely important, and it's probably one of the really common mistakes that people get wrong and then they overlook. Get wider, it's got to improve your angle of attack, it's got to improve your spin rates, launch angles, everything, and then it's just going to get you hitting the ball further, and they're easy gains. But as we're practicing through the winter, if you're working on your golf and you want to know the easiest, the simplest way to stand there and compress the golf ball, make sure that you check that video out.